Well, one of the things that we've found in our work at Global Exchange, we've done a lot of corporate campaigning, and we've worked, not only around the world in a lot of different countries, but we've worked in this country on a lot of different issues. Whether you're looking at healthcare, whether you're looking at the destruction of the environment, whether you're looking at U.S. foreign policy, whether you're looking at transportation policy, housing policy, the food system, whatever issue you take, and we actually, in this book, again, plug, Building the Green Economy, which you can get on the Global Exchange website, we cover a lot of those different areas. In every single area, when you start pulling the string, pulling that thread of the particular problem, it leads you to corporate power. Too much corporate power. And what you find is the big corporations have taken over the public airwaves. It's called the public airwaves. Corporations control it. They're making money selling to the advertisers access to our brains. It's exactly the reverse of what we were told in school. Oh, it's a consumer society, so if you don't like this newspaper, don't buy it, and they'll be forced to change. No. That newspaper is making their money not from the 25 cents you put in the box, but from the advertising sales. It probably costs like $5 or $10 to make each one of those newspapers. They're making their money off the advertisers. The advertisers are paying them money because they're delivering up your brain, my brain, everybody else's brain to the corporate advertisers. So if you want to get at a real solution and not just regulate, oh, let's have a little bit of poison in our food, not too much, just a little bit. If somebody came up to you and said, hey, can I put a tiny bit of poison, just a little bit in your food? Everybody would say no. But the corporations are doing that, and the government regulators allow them to get away with it. So the solution is, you say, look, we have a principle in the U.S. government. Actually, we were the first nation, first modern nation to establish this as a principle. Separation of church and state. There's a deeper principle underlying the whole idea of separation of church and state is it's not good for religion if they're merged because you don't want government controlling religion, and it's not good for the government to have one religion. Well, which one? Christianity, Judaism, Hinduism, Buddhism, Muslim, Islam, No. So what they did was the founders of the United States said we're going to have a separation between church and state. The underlying principle, there's a deeper principle, and that is no one institution, in this case religion, should control government. Well, take that principle and apply it to corporations. You have separation of corporations and the state. So you eliminate campaign financing by corporations. You put a block between the rotating door of employment, where people like Dick Cheney, he's Secretary of Defense, then he goes to work for Halliburton, then he becomes Vice President, and now when he retires, he'll probably go to work for some weapons company again. And it's this back and forth, this revolving door of employment. Somebody's working in the Pentagon, and then he goes to work for Boeing or somebody that's trying to sell products to the same people he was working with, so he's got a great Rolodex, knows everybody, and is friends with them. You put a wall in between the corporations and the government, right? No corporate welfare. Corporate welfare right now, the amount of money we spend building roads into the national forest so corporations can go in and cut down our trees at below market prices, subsidies to the oil and gas and coal industry and nuclear. Nuclear power wouldn't exist if it weren't for government corporate welfare. Corporate welfare is 3 times the size of all poor people welfare. If you add up all the welfare to poor people, food stamps, rent subsidies, aid to the blind, all of that, corporate welfare is way bigger than that. And the American people don't know anything about it. So we've got to educate the people about what Thomas Jefferson said in 1802. Thomas Jefferson, one of our smartest presidents, said we should crush in its birth the aristocracy of the moneyed corporations who already bid defiance to our government. This is in the first 30 years of the U.S. government's existence, and already in the early 1800s, Thomas Jefferson sees that these corporations are trying to get control of the government. And he says we should crush them in their birth, which is more violent than anything I would ever say. I'm into nonviolence. So we've got to educate the American people about corporate power having taken over our government, and how do we get government back so it's government of the people, by the people, for the people. It's all about education. It's all about the way we get people. What we say at Global Exchange is we do education for mobilization. Education just to have the fact in your head so at a cocktail party you can impress some potential girlfriend or something with how much you know about some issue. That's not what it's about. It's about understanding reality so that you can change the reality to create less suffering and more happiness in the world. Because some of us were lucky enough to be born into a wealthy part of the planet. Other people were born into places where you and I would have been dead by now. Because in a lot of places in Africa, Asia, Latin America, you look at the infant mortality rates, it's horrible. You have children dying from things like unclean water. The cure is clean water and a little bit of salt. You're talking pennies a day. Kids dying from polio. The vaccine costs maybe a dime or 15 cents. So it's not a shortage of money. It's a bad set of priorities by the people up in top of the global economy. I have 2 daughters. You want me to tell you about them?
Yeah.
I'm really proud of them. My older daughter, Arlen, is 26. She's a lawyer, and she works in New York defending the education rights of immigrant children. Because immigrant children get bumped around by the system. They don't get the same kind of treatment as children born here. And my younger daughter, 18, she just turned 18, has already done 3 years of college, and she just transferred as a junior to University of California at Santa Cruz. She went a few months to high school and didn't like it. It wasn't much of a challenge. She said, "Dad, this sucks. We got to do something different." I figured out a way to get her into San Francisco City College, and she started City College at the age of 15 and did 3 years there, straight A's, I might add, and she's majoring in psychology, and she's already smarter than me. It's kind of scary, like I'll be helping her study for an exam, and I don't understand any of the questions, and she's nailing every answer and getting 103 on the exam because there was extra credit questions, and I didn't understand any of it. So it's a little bit scary when you have a PhD and you've written 13 books and your 18-year-old kid is already smarter than you, but it's good. I'm not complaining.